Oh, I just made a total ass of myself in Coles. I always check the receipt dockets when I leave, and I do occasionally find that I've been, say, double scanned or something on an item. But this one was a bit strange because there was this item at the end. There wasn't that many items, funnily too, but it was a $3 item, and it just said it was cheese. And I already got cheese. I bought cheese in slices like Edam, and that was $4. And this $3 one just was described as cheese. Yeah, and I couldn't work out what it was, and I thought, oh, maybe there's some error with their system, which is highly unlikely because, you know, these automated systems are pretty foolproof. So I go and I take it back and check it with them, with the girls, and they're always super busy, so I felt bad about that. But you know, it's only a $3 item, for God's sake. But funnily enough, when I went back there, I found I'd actually left the toilet paper I'd purchased at the checkout, so that was actually a good thing. It was a good thing I went back, because I would have been short one item I'd purchased. So I was really out of it. I think I'm losing my mind. But what actually happened was, I said to the woman, I knew it wasn't her fault because it was in the sequence. You know, it was the second last item. So, you know, she didn't double scan or anything. She didn't do anything wrong, and she couldn't have come up with an item out of thin air. So it was very strange. And there was a logical explanation, as it turned out, and I guess it's related to my bad eyesight again, because I went through all my items, which I had in 2 different bags, and the one item I didn't find, which was the offending item, was a small round of brie cheese that I purchased, which was $3, and so I apologised to them because I was obviously in the wrong and a total idiot. So like I say, I think I'm losing my mind. So it does take, sometimes it pays to actually be a little more cautious, like maybe also wait for your items, make sure you've got all your items. Like I left the toilet paper there, so a total cock up. So that's my little shopping confession for today. Oh, well, it's Monday the 13th of May, and again the brilliant weather just continues on. As you can see, it's incredibly good weather. It's definitely getting cooler too. I noticed that the top temperature, I think yesterday, was only around 26 degrees, which is almost getting into wintry weather. So it's midway through May, and that's pretty normal, but we should be in for a fair bout of dry weather coming up. It's galling to me that with all that rain that we had, we weren't harvesting all that moisture, because gee, that would have really, if we'd had dams to basically hold that water from this incredible wet spell we had, imagine how that could be used on the other side of the range there, as you can see back there, because it gets quite dry once you get past the tablelands, Atherton tablelands, and so I haven't been out that far. I'm assuming that's the case anyway, so, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking, I know it certainly gets dry the further you get away from the coast anyway, and it's on the other side of the mountain range. Of course, you have different weather patterns, and you know, most of Australia's desert, so to me it's criminal that we haven't been able to take advantage of this wet spell for future use. That's what humans are good at doing, is planning for the future, and we're not doing it. And it's probably comes back to my favourite whipping boys, the Greens. They are so anti-building dams, which I have some sympathy for in certain areas. I'm not totally, I don't think you should go hither, just go helter-skelter building dams everywhere. That's crazy. If there are sensitive environmental areas, I totally agree that they need to be protected, but they've overplayed their hand. That's what I feel about them. They're now getting to the stage where they'll find some obscure animal, like the endangered red-bellied whatever, there may be only a dozen of them in the area or something, and they must be protected, and a multi-million-dollar project, or maybe $1 billion project, has to be put on hold or scrapped altogether because of this particular species. It's absurd. It's just, that's where it's gone too far the other way. The other areas of the Greens I think really should be accountable is in the, this is more at a council level, but stopping burning off in rural areas. And then there's been bushfires down in Victoria in particular, and I personally believe they have blood on their hands because of these ridiculous policies. Again, you need to be careful about your clearing. You don't want to get rid of pristine wilderness and things like that. I totally agree with that. But again, it comes down to a balancing act between sanity and doctrine. And unfortunately, these days, the Greens are very doctrinaire, and common sense is the last thing that comes to mind. That's probably why battery Bill Shorten's pushing this ridiculous legislation about having 50% electric vehicles by the year 2030. It's insane policy. The market should determine whether electric vehicles are the right form of transport for that time. Eventually I think they will become the major form of transport, because companies like Tesla are making huge inroads into battery technology and automation as well. They're very exciting things. I mean, I'm a big rap for Elon Musk, and even though I listen to 2GB, I listen to them because they've got a fairly, I think it's more of a common sense look at the current play in Australia. But in one area I don't agree, and that's that they're talking about, especially Alan Jones in particular, is very anti-Elon Musk, and I think that's insane. Elon Musk is an amazing technical innovator. Sure, he takes a lot of government money to get his projects off the ground, but he's not an island there. How many businesses are going to balk at taking government grants to further their own business? The point is, he runs a private company which is very innovative and coming up with incredibly beneficial new technologies in space and in electric car design. So his cars are currently not that cheap, especially in Australia. Even the new Model 3 I think still not that cheap here, but that's another issue that has to be taken into account. He's still not making a car for the masses, but that'll happen in time presumably. But he's also signing up some very important agreements with a battery company, an innovative battery company called Maxwell, and they work on supercharged capacitors, but they're also improving general battery technology. All this is very good for the evolution of EVs, which are starting to become very competitive. They're still expensive, but that will improve. Certainly the range anxiety is being overcome to some degree, and I think you actually will see them in long haul semi-trailers in the near future, because with the auto driving technology that he's developing, you're able to have semi-trailers running in convoy, and of course that gives them great advantages with slipstreaming, so it cuts down air resistance and makes it more economical. So you can imagine in Australia, say the Hume Highway, you could have just huge convoys of semi-trailers that you only have one driver, maybe the lead vehicle, and all the others are just automatically following. That is quite feasible. So I don't know what they'd have to probably split up, obviously, when they get off the highway or freeway into their own, into separate vehicles. But he is making quite big strides incrementally in auto driving, which is quite an automatic driving without the need of anyone being behind the wheel. It's quite incredible. It'll make a huge difference to me because I can't get a driver's license, so I have a big stake in this sort of technology. But anyway, for some reason, Alan Jones, who has the morning show on 2GB, he's got his stick up his arse about Elon Musk, and I think he's totally wrong. But he gets his little issues. He acts a bit like an old man at times, I've got to say. But he also talks a bit of common sense. And of course, Battery Bill, he can't wait to get photo opportunities while he's next to sick cancer patients or heart patients up here, tagging at the heartstrings but still avoiding to talk about costings of his policies, which is stuff that might bore a lot of people, but it's really important stuff. If you can't balance the books, we're going to be in deep economic strife. So yeah, it's not good. And the latest opinion polls just came out today showing 51 to Labor, 49 to the Liberals, which in my book means it's going to be a very close election, because normally you do have a bit of a swing back to the Conservative side on election day. And the other factor you've got to take into account is there's been a lot of pre-polling. I cast my vote over 10 days ago, so a lot of people have done that. I think the estimate is around a third maybe of the votes, quarter to a third, are going to be pre-polled votes. So all this campaign has taken place over the last few weeks, and the last week in particular is going to be lost on people like me. Not that I would have changed my vote anyway. There's been nothing to move me one iota. So that's my personal perspective on it. I haven't changed my opinion in the slightest in this period of time. I did actually hear something though yesterday. It was quite interesting, because Bill Shorten's policies on, say, negative gearing, the abolition of that, and also franking credits, I think are pretty bad policies. However, I will acknowledge that Martin North, who monitors house price movements, he's a statistician, and he's used a lot on the mainstream media to do sound bites about the cost, about what's happening with the housing market currently, and other economic indicators. He was saying that he thinks that this is actually a good time to abolish the negative gearing, because there's no capital gains at the moment. It's actually capital losses with the current market, and he said it's a good time to bring in the policy. So he's actually for it, and he's not a guy who's a hype artist, and I don't know what his politics are. If he may be straight down the line. He doesn't talk politics at all. He just talks about economic statistics. As I say, can be very boring and dry to a lot of people, but the thing is, he's not agenda driven. He seems to be someone who genuinely is looking for the truth, and that is such a hard thing to find. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you think there's anything there of use to you, or entertainment or whatever, and either do that or give me a thumbs up, or if you're feeling really energetic, do both. That'd be great. But please don't ignore me. That's the worst thing you can do on YouTube, is be ignored.